So good afternoon, everyone. So we will make this session quite interesting in terms of it because we are in the middle of this session between us and the lunch. So we'll make sure that we have a food of thought of Gen AI talking together. So myself, Nishith, Pathak, and we have extremely great panelists. Gen AI has been a talk of a town quite a number of times, and it has been a lot of discussions have been a case. We have seen Gen AI talking from ChatGPT days to the AI case stuff like Sora. We have talked about Apple FM1, which has got recently released. Every industry has been, currently getting transformed through the use of, Gen AI. What we are going to discuss is I have collated quite a number of questions. We are going to, ask it up pertinently, some of the questions which has been always been in the area of industries, and we have some exciting panelists, sharing those set of questions, and sharing the answers as well. So let me start with asking some of the questions as well. So let me ask the questions. When we start talking about Gen AI, the first thing that comes over a period of time is all about challenges, right? So first question, let me talk to Madhav, because Madhav is from NASSCOM. He talks a lot about industries, connects with all the industry eminents, right? So Madhav, what are the some common challenges that have been encountered during the implementation of Gen AI across different industries?
Thank you, Nishith. So, the challenges we can, during the implementation, even before that, even before starting the implementation, the challenges can be termed in categories such as data, compute, models, talent, regulation, IP. Now, when we go towards implementation, it's just the form in which the questions are asked for these challenges. They change. For example, in talent, who's going to be on the team? From how long this person is going to be on the team. So that becomes the challenge. So the data, where are we going to get the data? Is the data that we are the data that we are getting, is it verified? Is it something that we can use? With the model that we are going to use, well, we have a lot of options of the models, but is there a model wherein we can develop the solution in responsible way or not? So that becomes a great challenge as well, because data tends to change at times with new things coming in, new trends coming in. So what happens is that these challenges, they remain the same. The categories remain the same. It's just the form and structure change. Then there are IP challenges there. While they're developing, they realize, oh, there must be something which must have been built. Let me just go and check. And at times they find out, oh, it's already been done. That's another challenge. So, so if we go by this, so what happens at the end of the day is that any organization which is implementing Gen AI or AI has to keep those challenges always in front of them, is to see, are these challenges changing any forms? So they will remain the same. The categories will almost remain the same, just the forms will change.
Makes sense. I think great. So, Shantanu, you have again vast experience during the MIT days as well. You want to share, how MIT is presumably utilizing the Gen AI and what are the challenges, to be honest, right? That you have seen, your industries or the people who are interacting with you has faced.
All right. Thank you, Nishant. Let's take it slightly broader perspective on the problems that the generative AI that is supposedly going to solve in the industries and so on and so forth, right? Today, we are in the middle of a hype cycle in generative AI. So everything that, when you have a tool called Hammer, everything looks like a nail, right? And people are now going and saying, oh, let me go, solve every problem with generative AI. In fact, anything that used to be called a regression problem back in the 90s became an AI problem 10 years back, and now has become a generative AI problem, right? So the first question you typically ask when you're doing, and by the way, I have been an academic as well as an industry. Last two jobs were bank and telco. First question to ask you is there a straight line to the customer problem? If there is no customer problem you're solving, and the customer could be internal customer could be external customer could be a process owner, right? Then generative AI, for the sake of doing generative AI, is actually not the right way to do that. But it does cost a lot of money, compute, data, talents, regulations. Like the same problem that you can solve by regular AI versus generative AI, more regulations will kick in, right? So you need to take it through the mesh or the filter of this set of questions. Like, look, why am I doing it? what is the big benefit, right? So for example, I'll tell you something very simple. At a senior level in a large corporation, 40 to 50% of my job is summarization, which means I used to get in my last job about 800 emails a day. There's no way I could have read 800 emails and make a judgment unless I could summarize. And I would actually spend 5-6 hours on email at night. Now, if there's an engine that just summarizes my email, and like the way you do that is read from the bottom to the top and then summarize it, that's a great solution for corporate productivity. It does not violate any of the privacies because it's corporate email. It does not require a lot of regulations to deal with. The data is already there and the compute is not massively expensive. So I think if you look at the block of things, summarization as an example, and figure out where is a summary needed in your company, emails, customer queries, product brochures, that will give you a huge benefit before you even go and tackle the problems that are more complex and more customer facing.
Oh, I think well said. To be very honest, right, if I sum this all together, at least at a high level, what I feel that organization still needs a clear roadmap about how they want to utilize the investment of Gen AI. The other thing that definitely is talent is always a scarcity during the kind of transformation that is happening. Getting the right cleaner data is again another example of where we can utilize. And above all, having a robust, framework for doing a data governance and having an ethical mode of utilizing AI is always been a criteria. And that leads to me the second question about, the ethical governance. And, that is something that I'm going to ask, starting with Lily, that how do you ensure that generative AI adhere to the ethical standards and promote the responsible AI practices, which is really very, very important when you are creating any of the Gen AI apps?
Good afternoon. I think very rightly placed. Gen AI, I think, is the most hyped term of IT industry nowadays. And when we talk of implementation of Gen AI as far as ethical business is concerned, we need to have a very robust planning. How am I going to use? What is the method adopted or the model that you talked about, so that there is data consistency, integrity is in place, and then there is a single source of truth, so that data which is reflected across applications, dashboards, utilities created, or any form of use case for that matter, speaks about the data itself, interpretation, usability, scalability, and robustness. So, FSSI being the regulator, we are very concerned about how much and what data is to be used as far as Gen AI is concerned. And I think that as far as e-governance is concerned, we have to have a lot of brainstorming session so that we reach at a point where we are actually going to use Gen AI in a robust manner. Thank you.
Great. So, Upendran, you also have some thoughts about, how to make, how to ensure that Gen AI, adheres to the ethical standards, right? And making have a responsible AI.
Yeah. Hi, good afternoon all. So see, like what my other panelists said, it is not only of implementing of Gen AI to the next level. Today, I from AyatiWorks, where we implemented and we are testing in day-to-day thing. Even now I kept receiving messages from my team saying that how the responses throughout the AI is being generated. So we started using in educational sector. So if through in education sector, you would not believe today. So not only from a lead generation perspective, from an inquiry perspective, it has been helped a lot. So that is one. Second thing is what we said is like it is helping a lot in data analytics perspective, and personalized. When we said that even financial institutions now they had started. I think you should have noticed all your banking automated chatbots where you've been receiving a lot of SMSs and it has been customized. I think yes, that is going to be helping in a big way.
There are multiple ways, and I just want to extend because this is really very, very important for everyone to understand, how to implement the ethical standards. There are multiple steps, and Lily and Upendran did mention quite a number of them. For me, I think the first thing is all about transparency and accountability. how can we make sure that we are utilizing the data behind the generative AI in a transparent and accountable way? The second important thing is to do quite a number of bias detection and migrations. For stuff like this, we can certainly have data related to augmenting, bias augmenting. We have fairness awareness kind of a sessions to make sure that these are the things that are taken care. Third thing is all about having an ethical governance framework, which I also mentioned in the first question as well. Having an ethical governance is really very, very important to take the steps and take it forward. And of course, the fourth is and important is to collaboration along with the industry peers, because it is very, very important to connect with the industry peers, know your learnings, and these platform what BW has created, I think is one of the examples where the industry peers can really connect. But then we need lot more connections about it to understand what are the pitfalls, what are the examples. I always say this word: if 2023 was the area of or year of POCs and POVs, what is more important right now when we are talking about 24 is all about value generation using the Gen AI, and that is extremely important to take it forward. Now, coming back to the questions, one of the other aspects that we have from the success stories of generative AI, and that is something that I will again start with asking for Santanu, is that can you just share, some of the generative AI use cases that have been implemented across clients and industries? Because that is what is more important, as I mentioned, right? 2024 is all the year of, creating value outcomes. So if you can share some of the value generation, Shantanu, I think that is something we are good.
If you look at the multiple ways of generating values within industries, right? There are 2 or 3 use cases that I personally know of which are starting to generate significant values within organization. The first one is essentially in the software development, right? People are using Copilot. There are, for example, I was talking to a chip manufacturer, one of the largest chip manufacturers in the south, in the Austin area of the United States, and they are talking that they're a programming capabilities, programming output, programming productivity of the software developers are up by 30%, which is an astounding number. A typical programmer's ability to code better and so on with the newer technologies typically never have exceeded in the range of 8 to 10%, 15%. And they said the minimum they estimate was 30. It could be as high as 50 in certain groups, right? So this is the first time what we are encountering is not a technology that is a linear technology. It's a bit of a large language models and so on are actually a non-linear technology. The second example I'll give is from a bank that I know of. It's an European bank. The entire set of regulations. So, for example, Bank of England has the regulations around what are the things banks can do. 3,000 documents, and I'm mentioning Bank of England as an example because the history goes back to hundreds and hundreds of years, right? So they'll have a regulation, for example, in 2021, which was preceded in 2018, which goes back to 1952, and some of them goes back literally to 1700 and 1800s. The law team of 40 people spend a lot of time before doing implementing as a new policy or a new product. They go through the regulations to ensure that this is a complies with the regulations, right? The 3,000 different documents used to take for a typical process about 4 months. So with a what I call the summarization engine, right? Gen AI summarization engine, that work is now down to 2 to 3 weeks, about 60-70% reduction in the time frame, and 2 or 3 times productivity. So if you start thinking what are the connections between these two, it's all about understanding on a scale of what's a complex task, right? And what's a customer facing, right? If you do a 2 by 2 of the complexity of the task and the customer facingness, there's some things that fall in obvious categories. As I said, software coding is one, document searching is one, summarization that I mentioned is a third one. Those are the areas where first generation of large impact from the generative AI, especially large language models are starting to show.
Lily, you want to add some things about, some more use cases? And thanks, Santanu, well said.
Yeah, sure. So when we talk of Gen AI, all the government departments which are running applications, they need the document management system, reading, the content creation. Every time we have to write an RFP, and so many RFP are in place, we can very well use Gen AI so that we can have a summarization of the scope, and it is readily available with us, and it helps my work in some way. Second thing is, we used to write FAQ queries. You get a lot of queries. When we try to summarize the queries and the responses and use Gen AI in place, probably a chatbot kind of automated chatbot kind of thing comes up, and it can be used very well, and it helps your help desk teams proper response generated, decisive response from which is based on the query raised by the people. Healthcare industry, automated industry, for example, where we need a very strict set of instructions, especially in the floor, where we can use Gen AI so that it can help us in the automated automation of the process. As far as we are concerned, we are using NLP for the Gen AI. Translation services are being used through Gen AI, and all our chatbot for the applications, we are using Gen AI.
Can I take 30 seconds to give one more example that actually blew away my mind a few months back when I heard about it? A medical center, one of the largest medical center in the Southwest US, was looking at Gen AI application, and their first thought was it would be customer queries. It turned out after doing POCs, what turned out to be the highest value from Gen AI was actually triaging. When a trauma patient is brought in and a senior doctor is not present, the triaging, they were doing triaging 30% lower cost. So they looked at it, their assumption was it would be customer support. It turned out to be something as complex as a triaging when someone who's been shot on the the road, which is in the US Midwest is common, is brought in and is going to surgery. Now, obviously, there are medical regulations and other procedures in place before this can become commonplace. So do not underestimate the power of something like generative AI in doing things that are highly complex and human, something like triaging, and close to your life-threatening situations. It could be the one application that outweighs everything else in your industry.
Yeah, just adding, it becomes most consistent way of using the tool for handling the queries, the use case that you are talking about. So even for regulators, where the responses have to be very limited and related to the regulation and standard, it becomes very easy for us to handle the queries and consistent.
See, in terms of, I think, well said, Lily and Shantanu, in terms of the industries, right? Let us take a step back when we started utilizing the chat GPT and understanding as a raw, right? It was all about content creation, right? At the end of the day, it has with the release of tools like Sora and all, what we have extended out, we have extended from text to images to videos, right? So any of the industries which is more predominantly being affected by using content creation, it is all about, is going to be definitely, affected and is getting affected currently as well. Even you have this saw in the previous, session as well, how the content creation is being affecting even the Hollywood studios and other stuff as well. So that is the first area where definitely the larger effect is coming out. The second effect has been coming out for the developer productivity teams, right? The software development, right? So we have seen the rise of autonomous agents like Delvin and quite a number of stuff where or even products like Copilot, GitHub, and all of those, which are actually making the software development more easier. And I can say that, can I utilize one developer who can do 6x things than with those AI tools is certainly the other ones that are going to get affected. The third is all about the personalization area, right? You know, everybody needs personalization, whether we are doing a shopping, whether we are doing the content creation, whether we are doing the health care checkups. Everybody of us utilize the personalizations. So all the industries, in fact, even in retail as well, there are numerous use cases where the Gen AI is really affecting the personalizations of by creating the models pertaining to the users area. And then, of course, couple of areas, like couple of the specific industries like supply chain, right, where the industry is definitely affecting the large masses in terms of how the outcomes is all about. But then when we are saying all of this, it leads to the disruption about where we are in terms of the job. And that's actually led to me to the next question, which is very important for all of us. So we have been talking about, this is going to replace the jobs, this is going to displace the job. There has been a job stuff as all about. So my question more to Madhav, because Madhav have been, even NASSCOM has been pretty much pioneer in order to, create and sensitize how to have the right governance around it. So my question to Madhav is, what is the impact of Gen AI on the workforce? Maybe related to the upskilling of employees, maybe the creation of job roles, and how is the integration of AI powered tools are helping the current industry?
Okay. So I'll answer the last one first. So we did a dipstick survey and we got to know that the low skilled jobs, where in the context of low skilled jobs, Gen AI actually helped them increase the productivity by 35%. Now that's the power of Gen AI. Now, as far as job displacements are concerned, yes, that's a concern. But if you look at it as Elon Musk says, AI is not going to replace, it's going to the one who's using the tool. So the corporates, the organizations, they are focusing more and more skilling, just not 10, 20 people, but if you look at it, there was some statistics that were there publicly available, it's tens and thousands. So if you, and the queries that we get normally, they say that, okay, we want to implement Gen AI, we want to have a Gen AI first culture. So what do we do? Skilling is where they start. Because till the time you're not aware of it, how can you even build the capacity? So awareness is increasing. Capacity building, the intention to build the capacity is increasing. More and more organizations are coming to us and of course talking to others as well, and how they can take the knowledge level, the skill level of the existing workforce to the next level. If not, if you get skilled or be out. So that's the kind of approach that some of the organizations also have. And there was one stat which, one statistic which came to my focus was there is a 52% gap, skill gap. So there's a lot of it. This tells me there is a lot of opportunity out there. So it's the way you look at it. The gap is there, but if there's a gap, then there's an opportunity as well. So 52% skill gap, it's all up for the takes. So the person who's more skillful, person who understands how to leverage Gen AI for the work, how to use it. So we also, me and my colleagues, we also use Gen AI in some shape or form. So the productivity goes up, and person knowing that will survive. They don't have to worry about the jobs. The ones who are not ready to learn, they have to worry.
Lily, you want to share some thoughts about it?
Yeah, when we talk of Gen AI, I thought a lot of surveys are being conducted. So I'm just talking in the context of analytics, where semantic analysis, the text analytics becomes very important. And when we are doing a lot of surveillance for that matter in our organization, and we take a lot of time to analyze the text, because humanly it is not at all possible to analyze. And so when you are just trying to analyze the thought process of the person who has sent his feedback, it becomes very important to use this type of tool, which is not only going to add value, it is going to add consistency, It is going to give a result which will help you in making a strong decision. So this was one thing which I found. Second is we are all I mean any organization is already nowadays using an integrated tool for analytics, but Gen AI will use data from different sources. It will enhance the consistency, the quality of the data that is being transferred over different applications. Even the way the data is being used to create different reports and all. So this I am telling you based on my experience, because in 2014 we were trying to analyze the um, the sentiments of the people. And I now in 2024, I feel that Gen AI will be one of the best tool if I am going to enhance the quality data for the text analysis in any application for that matter.
See, when we are talking about Gen AI, and I think well said from Madhav and Lily, right? From a Gen AI perspective, the situation is right now no company is a leader, right? Everybody is trying to make sure that they become a leader in next, few months, few quarters kind of thing. So it's a huge opportunity for our entrepreneurs to really come out and take it forward. I was also listening, some data points where around 12,000 patents have been posted by the Indian startups, right? Which actually create a lot of emergency. So in terms of the workforce and upskilling, definitely, right? There is a huge opportunity for the people, but definitely they need to upskill into the technologies like machine learning, data science, or even prompt engineering to take it forward. The second thing is all about definitely, Gen AI is going to affect the productivity. It is going to save a lot of time, but then it is also going to come up with a lot of new roles, right? And roles like model translators, right? AI interpreters kind of things. And quite a number of new roles are going to form, and definitely, right? When the new startups and new business will form, definitely there will be a new emergence in terms of the roles. But in all, it also will lead to a lot of collaboration, because gone are those days where, companies and an individual is saying that they will work on an I kind of economy. We are going to work on a V kind of economy where we need to collaborate among ourselves, among our peers, among the industries, among the organizations, among the teams to create much more bigger outcomes, which is really important as such. Now, let me, talk about success stories, and I think that is which is very important and important the notion of this sessions as well. And it goes to Upendran, right? So Upendran, can you share, some of the success stories? And Madhav, you also will point out if you can, Madhav and Shantanu. Can you share some of the success stories where generative AI have played a very crucial role and achieve some remarkable results? So let's start with Upendran, and then Madhav and Shantanu, you add on.
I would strongly comment like what you have told on healthcare factor. We tried with two segments. We tried with the healthcare sector as well as in the retail segment. In healthcare segment, you would not believe this next gen AI has helped a doctor to have more of visits than a patient have told doctor that, sir, I've stopped Googling now. I've come to your website. Started asking questions where I used to get qualitative reply so that I'm able to analyze my health better. Instead of going to a Google, I've come to now your website and it has a good sounds. That was a in the healthcare segment what we have recently found a success. In retail segment, you won't believe we have converted. I would say that this Gen AI has also not only removing the skill development sector from the existing people, all the telecallers have been converted into chatbot trainers. Now they started replying, and all the prompts which is going on time, and the retail segments growth for a particular sector have gone up. So these are two segments which we have recently felt, and yes, this is going to be a continuous learning process, and we need to keep adding. I have my friend Madhav Narshiman from Make My Trip. Even we were talking today, well, what is the implementations you have done recently. Now he has started replying to his client on an email automatically. So for it, he is having a better conversion rate. So that's what we need to look at. So definitely we keep learning on it. So these are the two success stories what we have. Over to you, sir.
So one of the success stories that I have observed, and it's from the startup arena, is we have a startup which is into mental health care. So when we write something, how do we know that this person has written this in what state of mind? How do we assess that? And this startup has done a fab job on that. So we were going through that, and we realized when the person was explaining, the founder was explaining to us that, and they restrict themselves to within that domain only, so that there are no hallucinations as well in the models. So that's one, and the healthcare, the pharma companies and the healthcare institutes, they have actually, and even the corporates, they have asked this startup to implement, and they are very well on their way to a multi-million deals now. So that's one example that I always quote about Gen AI, how the people can use Gen AI, develop find a startup, work around it, and actually create value. In mental health care, we all know we need more in today's world than the days earlier. So that's one success story that I wanted to share that with.
So there are two ways to look at it. One is, as I said, at the external facing, which all of us spoke about, right? Retail, content creation, customer support, and all of these are going to be redefined in terms of when the Gen AI takes over in the next few years, right? But the other big areas where corporates can look for major efficiency gains, which drives the EBITDA, which in turn frees up more money to invest in Gen AI, is the internal processes, right? Internal processes are very, very corporate specific. Two large companies don't have the same thing. For example, for HR processes, for procurement, right? Things that for legal, things that have not been, even the travel, the way you handle travel are very different between two companies, right? So let's talk about the startup opportunities in addition to startup success. I think what will change, if you look at the Y Combinator's 2022 class, it was all about a wrapper on top of a generative AI, right? I'll make a content creator, which by the time, ChatGPT 3, it was a novelty. ChatGPT 5 or 4 is no longer a novelty. So what you need to shift from, or the startups have the opportunities, is what I call is a dimensional AI. You need to think in the dimension of things that a company does. So for example, is there an opportunity to build SAP ground up using generative AI today? SAP is all text. SAP was built in 1990s, and I think it was earlier, all text and number based. You have a camera today, right? Every worker today walks around in a camera in a plant. Can you build a visual SAP? Can SAP be more like an Instagram for the next generation of millennial workers? That's a great opportunity. Can you build Workday, which is a standard corporate platform, in a way where for example, the whole resume screening, part of the interview process and all become far more assistive than it is today. So the startups who start thinking about what we call in my lab is the dimensional layer. Think of the dimension of corporate processes and behaviors that can be rethought with the tools and technologies we have available. Not only the standard products that they use today, but is that standard product itself can be reimagined in the Gen AI, given that tools like computer vision, cameras, and a bunch of other technologies are becoming available. Your iPhone today has more compute than a supercomputer just about 15 years back, right? What's happening to that compute? Can you reimagine the entire business process? And can the company 30 years from now be very different than what it is today?
I think when I'm thinking of day-to-day use of Gen AI in the international arena, I got to know that even for the skill versus resume mapping, Gen AI is being lot of places where they can, select the resume for the internships and for the jobs, so that this activity becomes faster. Second thing, I feel that as far as content creation is concerned, wherever we are making content for the training, automated training, because nowadays we have training on audio video mode, and we may not involve human interface there. So either the training uh, content creation, or for that matter creation of the operation manual, user manual, and in an interactive mode where the manual itself can teach people how to use the tool or for the application. I thought that using Gen AI in a very simple way will enhance your life in a complex manner. I think that's a my take.
So talking about simplicity and success together in Gen AI, we have success right in front of us.
That's
Dr.
right.
Vishnu Vardhan at Visi. So you saw what Hanuman can do. Then now for me, that's a success because that's solving the day-to-day problems of a common man. So when it's AI is just not about corporates or organizations. That till the time the technology doesn't create that kind of a trust, that kind of impact at the consumer level, at the level of citizen, uh, we don't think that's a success. And that's one success story that we always discuss about this.
And I think there are quite a number of success stories. In fact, just to add some more, I've seen, cybersecurity firm utilizing the generative AI for doing the threat detection. I have also seen a retail company utilizing the Gantt charts to create a realistic photosynthesis images. I've also seen a media firm, utilizing the generative AI for creating the, media updations or content creation as well. And then the internal process is all about, right? So, and we have seen quite a number of times in terms of summarization, automations, quite a number of other interesting areas where we have seen. So there is rarely an industry, whether internally or externally, we can see, where the generative AI is not being disruptive. As long as you are working with text, images, videos, you can certainly see that industry is been drastically affected with the utilization of Gen AI.
This is one question I think all of us getting very passionate. I'll give you, if the startups here, I'll give you a hint. My hunch is that one of the areas where you'll see a big impact of generative AI is the decarbonization and the green energy transformation in next 20 years. If I was a startup today, I'll think about the two biggest trends: decarbonization slash green energy and Gen AI, and see how they can augment each other, and you can build like a $100 billion company in the next 10, 15 years.
Right. So I have one last question, and then probably I'll have some more questions open to the audience in case if they have. I talked about the V economy earlier, right? So we are not our I economy. We are talking about V economy in the past, and we have been talking about. I'm just opening that floor to the panelists to share if they can share any of the examples where probably they have saw the partnerships happening or a collaboration happening successfully in terms of different industries to create generative AI solutions. So if anyone have some sort of thoughts, happy to share it out.
As you rightly pointed out, generative AI is just not an initiative has to be taken in isolation. It has to be a collaborative effort. And we are seeing many top organizations collaborating on this. We have got news like Apple and Google coming together for Gemini, and there are many other examples. But what's excited me the most is about in the Gen AI space, more than creating solutions, how to create responsibly, how to create those solutions responsibly. This is what has been exciting. So earlier last year, we came out with a normative guidelines on responsible adoption of generative AI. And there were 30 companies which came together. They were all competitors in some sense or other, but they collaborated for the greater good. So many other examples are also there. So I just want to quote this because if you look at it with all Gen AI landscape, opportunities, challenges, everything, responsible generative AI is something, because we know what it can do. Like earlier speaker said, there can be a rogue Gen AI somewhere, some point of time. So how responsibly we can adopt generative AI at scale, not one of two of cases, but at scale. So those 30 organizations coming together and creating those kind of guidelines and having consensus on that, I think it's in itself a success. And I believe that many more examples are going to be there in future.
So let me add few examples just to create a food of thoughts for the everyone, right? That the innovation is happening not within the industry, right? There are basically two areas where the innovation is definitely disrupting. One is academia, and second is the startups, right? Now, if you really look back in terms of the collaboration, I've seen numerous examples where the startups have collaborated, or there has been an M&A in terms of the startups to make sure that there has been some sort of utilization. And nowadays, you are seeing a lot of M&As are happening, at least in the AI-based company. This is presumably all about the classic example of the partnership. But let me give you some of the examples, right? I have seen, not to name a company as such, but I've seen a healthy care company, collaborating with an AI startups to do the early disease detection. I think that is one of the classic example where is. Another of the healthcare company that I have done, which is actually working with the AI-based startup to do the medical diagnostics. So that's again the second startup that I have done. Again, the third example that I have seen is that the AI company and some retail company has been interacting with the AI startups to do the personalization in terms of the fashion industries. So quite a number of areas where the collaborations have been happening, and I think that is what we as a group want to share. I think that the start has just begun. It is all about collaborations, working with the industries, creating a lot of thoughts. But I'll just what I'll do is that I'll just give 30 seconds to all my panelists if they want to share some last some words for it, and then I summarize it. So let's get started with it.
Yeah. So I think one big use case is the consulting organizations, and consulting, I'm saying especially for the process consulting related to ISO and CMMI. I hope you know that it's a very big market where the processes are more or less related, whether it is security related processes, CMMI, ISO. And I know two organizations who are actually using Gen AI for generating the processes which is related to specific standard, and it makes their life very easy because they have been writing processes throughout their life, and then just mixing one or two processes to develop it for one of their client, it makes their life very easy.
Yeah, 30 seconds for all of you if you want to share some thoughts about Gen AI to the audience.
One quick, so the collaboration came, and since I'm from the academia, one of the areas that we are starting to think about is that the whole cost of the three things you need in Gen AI, right? Tons of money for compute, private data, largely to build your moat, and talent, right? And the emerging markets like India are sort of now will have to start doing the catch up, because US will have 1 million GPUs, H100s. China will have 100,000. India will have probably about 10,000 or so. But is there a new way of thinking about building the entire Gen AI infrastructure that's different? What India did fantastic about 20 years back is build this UPI, which took away the whole payment system. It disrupted the Western payment system. Is there a way to build, for example, a digital public infrastructure, DPI for AI, that's very different than the Western thinking? And can we as a nation lead on that as an alternative to the current model? So that's something that I'm working on, and that's a completely industry, academia, startup collaboration. All three not coming together will not make it happen, and obviously government and regulatory and so on.
So only one thing which I would like to say is, when we started AI, we all know we have started with robotics. We all know only robotics is going to come help and it's going to replace the manpower and everything. But today it is not that. Today, yes, we have a small chatbot in front of us, which we all can try, and we can explore a lot of new opportunities is what would I say. And there is a lot of talent shortage, definitely, because each and everyone here, yes, if you all ready to try an app, definitely you would be able to give a solution for an individual sector. So my worry is only everyone has to try, and make sure we give that back to the industry, because we have a huge potential, and in India we have a lot of segments which we can cater to, but we people are a bit lazy on getting into technology perspective, and we're not trying anything. But I would only say, everyone are talking about example. I've been an example for myself, where I was a digital marketing company, a digital technology company, where we have been generating only website developments and digital marketing or all those things. But today, after doing an AI integration with Shopify, we have become an affiliated partner with Shopify, and we are exploring more opportunities with Shopify. So as an individual, which I can do, a lot of us can do, I would only say that keep trying and explore opportunities in AI.
Thank you for that. And what I believe is that while AI and other technologies, they were what you call buddies of our intellect, our intellectual prowess, Gen AI is a dear friend when it comes to imagination. So the only reason we will fail, one of the reasons that we'll fail, will be the lack of imagination. So we'll be constrained by only that. In Gen AI, we got a great buddy, if I can say that. What you can think of, just put in a prompt. Manifest that there and then. Not in a spiritual sense, but in that sense, you can still manifest. So we'll be limited by our imagination. Gen AI is a great tool if you use it responsibly. It's a great tool. And I believe we just started. So in the early presentation, we saw that you were crawling, then you were standing, then walking, running, flying. We are just standing tall. We are just in the process of standing tall as a nation in terms of Gen AI. And I wish and I believe that in 5 years to 10 years, we'll fly.
And then let me summarize in this way, right? AI has been there for years and years, right? Probably decades. Now, this is the first time when I see the Gen AI. That is where we have seen the human and robots or the machines interacting much closer than ever. We always analyze that this is probably the time where the Turing test will always be passed by the machine. And that is always be the power of Gen AI. The guidance for all of us needs to be that we need to be a constant learner. We need to be learn, unlearn, and relearn, and we need to be agile in terms of learning. Opportunities are plethora, and I said that no one is a leader when we talked about it. So it just created an enormous opportunity. It's just that we need to tap up. As my fellow panelists have already mentioned, there's enormous opportunities will lead to the disruptions of the existing job, but also create much more productivity impact. And I think the onus is on all of us to make sure that how we can, capture this market and tap out the market and take it forward. I think in all of this, that is what as a group we want to say. And thank you so much to Business World and the entire team for, bringing this platform and, making this panelist session. Thank you so much from our side. Take care. Bye.